Hey, all, thanks for stopping by. Look, you all know I channel information from the universe, right? That's not news. Maybe what is news, and by the way, thanks for listening to me. I'm trying, like everybody else, to make sense out of what's going on here in the United States and elsewhere. And back to what I was originally trying to say is that what might surprise you is that I don't ask the universe about what's going on. I don't want to know about the political, um, all the political stuff. I don't ask them, in other words, about specific details about what's going on. But here's something that they tell me when I do tune in. And today I finally felt like I needed to share that with you. What they're telling me and what has been consistent over the course of my relationship with guidance, which is really maybe 30 years, is that none of us can afford to remain in any emotional state of suffering. That's really something we can put our attention to. How are we suffering? Why are we suffering? How long are we going to suffer? So for people who are worried about what's happening, stressed about what's happening, I'm going to say this in the most loving way I can. It's not helping. We have to continue to believe in love, to believe absolutely in joy and happiness. One thing I've heard from many people is that they actually either feel guilty or are a bit confused for themselves about whether they can experience a joyous vacation or a happy time, considering how much suffering is going on. Well, I want to somehow impart that being unsure about one's own happiness isn't helping the world at large. All we can do is be true to ourselves and find our happiness and our joy, because in that place it really does help to elevate the whole, right? If each of us can maintain that, find that, believe in that, those of us who suffer, we all do, I suffer too at times, absolutely. It's harder for us to help others when we are suffering ourselves, when we are challenged, when we feel down, when we are worried, when we are Twitter-pated. It is harder for us to help other people. And so the message from the universe, from guidance, from help, has always been about figuring out how to move through suffering, move through our worry, move through our challenges, whether they come from the outside or whether they're internal, so that we can uplift each other. Now, I know that might sound easier said than done, and I refer back to something that Joseph Campbell, The Power of Myth, you can look him up if you're not familiar with him. He was a person very well versed. He was a scholar and well versed in myths around the globe. And one thing he learned and one thing he repeated over and over was to follow your bliss. And I remember an interview, maybe some of you remember this too, with Bill Moyers, who asked him, well, how can you say that to somebody, a man who, at that time, a man, yes, who has responsibility for kids and he's got to work, and how can he do that? And what do you absolutely, how can you advise that? I mean, what would you say to him? And Joseph Campbell said, follow your bliss. This is the way to elevate the world. I absolutely believe that we can do our part if we want to send money to good causes, if we want to help those who are more in need. All that's well and good. I'm not saying to avoid or ignore the help we can offer, but the help we can offer must be done through our own joy, through our own happiness. Another idea about this, about suffering and about what's happening, is that we do make a judgment call. We may not think it's a judgment, But when we believe that someone else's suffering is more than ours, or we decide that we can't find our happiness today because someone is suffering, we actually have decided what their suffering is, right? What they are suffering. And that is a judgment call on our part. So I say, wipe the slate clean. Be good to yourself. Be kind and compassionate to yourself. And in this way, finding your own joy will make it easier for you to be kinder, more compassionate, and more joyful for others. And I do believe, I will remain hopeful that right is right, that good does overcome evil. In the history of the world, we have seen this over and over and over. And so I personally want to offer you the hope of not succumbing to the evil that exists in this world. Do not believe in that. Believe in the love and the hope and the grace and the goodness and the kindness and the compassion that we all truly have, and make that who you are today. Thanks for listening. I know many of you might already know this and understand this. I just wanted to share my thoughts with you today. Feel free to leave your comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know how you are experiencing this in your life, remaining hopeful, remaining positive when we can. Let's all try to pull ourselves away from the worry and the suffering. Let me know how you're doing that. Thanks so much again for being here today. Don't forget to subscribe, follow me on all my socials, and I'll see you next time.